Read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 3, text chapter 9, text number 24. Give me a second, I can project it on the screen. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate vihasato ambasi yasya pumso vikyana shakti ahamasam ananta shakti rupam vichitram idam asya vibhrunvato me ma ridishishita nigamasya giram visargaha navi hridadihasato ambasi yasya pumso vigyana shakti rahamasamananta shakti rupam vichitram tamasya vibhrunvato me Madhirishishita nigamasya giram visargaha Navi hridadihasato ambasi yasya pumso Vigyana shakti rahamasamananta shakti Rupam vichitram tamasya vibhrunvato me Madhirishishita nigamasya giram visargaha
Vigyana Shakti Ahamasananta Shakti Rupam Vichitram Ikamasya Vibhrunvato me Madhirishita Nigamasya Ginam Visargaha
Naviragadihasato ambasi yasya pumso vigyana shakti rahamasamananta shakti rupam vichitram nigamasya vibhrunvato me Mari Vishista Nigamasya Giram Visarga Nahi Vedadi Hasato Ambasi Yasya Pumso Vigyana Shakti Rahamas Asumananta Shakti Rupam Vichitram Inamasya Vibhrunvato me Mari Rishishta Nigamasya Giram Visarga
Synonyms. Nabi Hridat from the navel lake. Iha in this millennium. Sataha high. Ambashi in the water. Yasya one whose. Pumsaha of the personality of Lord. Vigyana of the total universe. Shakti energy. Aham I. Asham was born. Ananta unlimited. Shakti of the powerful. Rupam Vichitram, variegated, Asya, Idam, this, Asya, his, Vibrin Vrataha, manifesting, may, unto me, ma, may not, Virishishta, vanish, Igamasya, of the Vedas, Giram, of the sounds, Sargaha, vibration. Translation, Krishna Prabhupada. The Lord's potencies are innumerable as he lies down in the water of devastation. I am born as a total universal energy from the navel lake in which the lotus sprouts. I am now engaged in manifesting his diverse energies in the form of cosmic manifestation. I therefore pray that the course of my material activities I may not be deviated from the vibration of the Vedic hymns. Purport of Srila Prabhupada. Every person engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord in this material world is prone to so many material activities. And if one is not strong enough to protect himself against the onslaught of material affection, he may be diverted from the spiritual energy. In material creation, Brahman has to create all the kinds of living entities that the body suitable to the human condition. Brahma wants to be protected by the Lord because he has to contact many vicious living entities. An ordinary Brahmana may fall down from the Brahma Tejas or the power of the Brahmanical excellence due to association with many fallen conditioned souls. Brahma, as the supermost Brahmana, is afraid of such fall down, and therefore he prays to the Lord for protection. We'll still be able to read further later. Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Tathamyam Dadati Svapadantikam Mukam Karoti Vacham Pungum Langayate Giri Yat Kripatamaham Mande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramanandamadavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinamando Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Vata Kanta Namostate Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Srivasa Guru Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama seeing here, from the last chapter, we saw how Maitreya Muni is answering the questions of Mahatma Vidura. And he goes on to explain Lord Brahma's prayer to Lord Vishnu. And Lord Brahma, as usual, so in the beginning of creation also, Lord Brahma prays to Lord Vishnu. But the description that is given here is very specific to one of the mornings of Lord Brahma. So, as you might know, Lord Brahma creates this or populates this entire material creation every day in the morning, his morning. And so, in the beginning of the creation, Lord Brahma was completely confused and did not know what to do. And he was trying his best to find out where he is and what he's supposed to do. And then there's a whole description in the second canto, how he comes down, goes up, and finally he understands his purpose and he prays to the Lord and finally gets his audience. But in this third canto here, the current description of Maitreya Rishi, this actually is specific to one of the mornings of Lord Brahma. So he wakes up. He knows what he is supposed to do, and he knows he has to create, and he knows he has to first go and do his prayer to Lord Vishnu. So it's the description here is specific to one of the kalpa, or one of the days of Lord Brahma. And here, Lord Brahma finally sees Lord Vishnu after much encumbrances. And Lord Vishnu is also pleased with him. And Lord Brahma starts his prayers. And the prayers at the beginning of this chapter, as you might see, Lord Brahma is so wonderfully praising Lord Vishnu. And he's feeling not just for himself. He feels himself very unqualified, and he feels himself that he needs and wants to be the Lord. But he also feels for other living entities. And he feels so much compassion for other living entities, how they're bereft of this understanding that the highest self-interest is Lord Vishnu. So that they are completely bereft of that knowledge, and they are searching all over this world for happiness. Whereas the happiness is very much within them, in the form of the Supreme Lord, as Paramatma. He is ready to guide them to the right direction. But living entities are completely showing a blind eye towards that, and they completely ignore the Supreme Lord. So Lord Brahma is showing his compassion as a great Vaishnava. So Vaishnava is a Paradukha Dukhi. He is one who always feels compassion for this. And he feels that everybody should get the good fortune that he has got. So a Vaishnava always has Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu in his mind, and he always wants to transfer this to everybody, whoever he meets. So that is why Lord Vaishnava is described as Paradukha Dukhi. Namera Ruchi and Paradukha Dukhi. These are the symbols of a Vaishnava. Lord Brahma, being a very great Vaishnava, he also feels the same. He first talks about how unfortunate are these living entities who have not recognized the Supreme Lord as the best interest. And then he goes on to describe the Lord Vishnu's, how he wonderfully situated in this Bodhika ocean, lying amidst the wild waves, completely undisturbed, and how he is the master of all gunas, and how he is the master of all the creation. And he goes on to describe about his own situation, how he is so fallible, and the Supreme Lord is infallible. He is so fallible, and he needs his protection. So he petitions to the Lord, so please protect me. That is another great quality of Vaishnava. A Vaishnava always is surrendered to the Lord. He never thinks himself to be very qualified or somebody who can be the master of the three modes. He always understands his position as a servant of the Lord. He never forgets his position. So, this is very important. Srila Prabhupada also emphasizes this point all over this purport. He has been emphasizing this point, that how even Lord Brahma is extremely humble in his approach to the Lord. And for good reasons. Lord Brahma also has faced a lot of different challenging circumstances when he was completely bereft of his senses, and he was completely lost this composure. So many times in the beginning of creation also we might see how when he was creating different living entities, so he was completely controlled by the modes whenever he created living entities. Sometimes he was chased by some demons, and sometimes he himself was completely lost his senses and ran behind a woman. So all these things happen at the beginning of creation. Brahma remembers all of this. And that's why he is extremely humble in his approach. And Lord Krishna also, the Supreme Lord, he likes his devotees to be very humble. So in many circumstances, he has also taught some of his great devotees certain good lessons of humility. So we can see how he chastises Hanumanji when he is not respecting the contribution of his quill. And then we see how Lord Brahma also was himself chastised. So he completely thought that he understands Lord Vishnu more than anybody else, and he thought Lord Krishna to be a magician, and he wanted to trick him. So he finally got completely bewildered by Lord Krishna, and he surrendered to Lord Krishna. And then he understood his position to be a menial servant of the Lord. So he knows that. So Lord Brahma, every day in the morning, just like how we do our morning program, start with the Arati of the deities and hear Srimad Bhagavatam class. Lord Brahma has the fortune to hear Srimad Bhagavatam class directly from the Supreme Lord. And he prays the Supreme Lord, just like how he has been praying. His stuti is there in the Bhagavatam in many places, second canto and third canto. And then he pleases the Supreme Lord with his prayers. Supreme Lord also speaks to him back, Srimad Bhagavatam. And he is Srimad Bhagavatam class. So he's setting a right example for every devotee. How we should have a morning program and how we should have it here to the Bhagavatam class. So that is the way for perfection. Srila Prabhupada also institutionalized this whole morning program in the ISKCON movement. How we have this, he emphasized in this morning program. So it's a very, very, very important process how we can purify ourselves and start the day with a very nice note. Coming back to the topic here, so we see how Lord Brahma is praying. And he says very nicely, Lord Brahma says that I am empowered to be the controlling deity of the intelligence. So we see from the Jiva Goswami's Krama Sandarbha, he says that he interprets this Vijnana Shakti Aham Asum Ananta Shakti. So he says this, Lord Brahma says that I am actually wanted to be the controlling deity of the intelligence. And yet I am here. I know how much powerless I am in front of the material nature of the Lord. So that is what his prayer is. That I am going to create this entire material manifestation. We are going to bring forth different species of life. And oh my Lord, please kindly protect me. Because this is very much bewildering. Because somebody creates something, they get very attached to it. So you start making some, let's say, a program, you are given a service to do certain things. So we would like to put all our energy, our mind, and into that. And what happens that at some point we get attached to that. And then so attached to that that it is becoming an impediment to our devotional consciousness. That is also something that Brahma is warning here. That one should always be very clear on the purpose. And many times it has happened in the ISKCON movement also that Srila Prabhupada also many times chancels devotees. So devotees sometimes went overdrive, and they started to disturb the real principles or the real purpose of this movement. Like Sutama Krishna Maharaj, he was having this party, traveling Sankirtan party, and then sometimes many devotees from the temples, the brahmacharis, they would go and join this movement, and that way it was creating a lot of disturbance in the different temples. So Srila Prabhupada was very angry with this approach when he asked him to stop this. And so like this, so there is so we have to be conscious, and we should always be conscious on what pleases the spiritual master, and not go on the overdrive on just in the case of just to kind of satisfy our self-prestige, or in order to for some material benefits. We shouldn't go on the overdrive. We should always know our limits and understand what is the spiritual master's intention, what pleases the spiritual master. So accordingly, we should know how to act according to different desha, kala, patra, or time, place, and circumstance. So that is what is real intelligence. Real intelligence means knowing what to do when and how. And that intelligence comes from Krishna, or the spiritual master guides that disciple in the right way. So if we, at any point of time, just like Lord Brahma is saying here, we tend to become overconfident, then there's always some good lesson waiting for us at the end of the tunnel. And we're going to have a very good lesson taught to us by the spiritual master or the Supreme Lord. And so, but an intelligent person, intelligent disciple, he is very soon to recognize what is the right and wrong. So he is very quick to recognize that, just by understanding the purpose of the spiritual master. That is a first class disciple. And a second class disciple is someone who needs to be told, see, this is the right approach, this is not the right approach. Then he corrects himself. Then it's a second class disciple. The third class disciple is he has been told, but still he makes mistakes and he learns from his mistakes, or sometimes even over more than one. And fourth type of disciple is just a disciple in name. So he does not obey or doesn't take the instruction given by the spiritual master, does his own things, and eventually meets with he is lost, because we tend to create offenses over a period of time. So that's what Brahma is saying here. So Brahma is saying three different things. One is that one should never become overconfident, and number two is one should not become offensive to others. So if you make offense to it is in the next, I think I was not reading that part. So it says an ordinary Brahmana may fall down from the Brahma Tejas or the power of Brahminical excellence due to his association with many fallen conditioned souls. Brahma as the supermost Brahmana is afraid of such a relation. And therefore he prays to the Lord for protection. This is very important. So one thing is that so that's why it's important to keep to the sadhana program very strictly. Prabhupada emphasized very much those who are going out and preaching and Sankirtan, they should attend the morning program and they should take part in the entire morning program so that their consciousness is good enough that when they go and meet the people, materialistic people, they don't get influenced by those people. So this is what Brahma is saying here. So because I have to associate with so many vicious living entities, oh my Lord, please protect me. So that's very important. So Prabhupada also emphasized that all preachers should attend the morning program and they should take part, they should hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Otherwise it's just natural for us that we will just get favored and we will be completely on a different trip, or a mental trip. So that's very, very important. The one is completely in compliance with the morning program. So that is helpful for us. It protects us from different tricks that is Maya is going to put in our way. So here, the next also, Lord Brahma is saying that later in the verse he says, Ma Nirishishta Nigamasya Idam Visharga. So Nigama means the Vedic literature. So Vedic literature has to be pronounced in a correct, proper meter and pronounced in a proper pronunciation. And unless it is not done in that right way, so it is going to have sometimes a negative effect. So that needs to be understood. So anybody who is doing the Vedic ceremonies and rituals, and they should keep that in mind, that we should always pronounce it the right way. We should be trained in the right way and pronounce it in the right way. So otherwise it can have negative effects. Of course, this is all mainly for the previous yugas, but in the Kali Yuga especially, there is going to be faults everywhere. Kale doshe hriday rajan astin me ek mahan kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha param raje. There is going to be dosha, there is going to be faults, and there is going to be some other faults in the best of best brahmanas, whatever they do. So they can be compensated by Hari Kirtan, by chanting the names of Krishna. So that is to be understood to be a very important component of any Vedic ritual. It should always accompany by Hari Sankirtan. So otherwise it's not complete, it's not going to get complete. So that's a very important point that Lord Brahma is making this point. Because in the past, in the Puranas, we see many circumstances, many situations, when the pronunciation was not proper, it had a completely negative effect. So we can quote many of them. And does anyone would like to say any such circumstance when there is no proper pronunciation and negative effect?
Oh, there was something. Are you talking about in the Bhagavatam? Because wasn't it? I was thinking it was Aditi, and somehow she made some mistake in her ritualistic performance. But I don't know if it was mantras or anything. Sorry.
Yeah, nice, that's a good one.
Literature.
Princess. Nice.
Literature with Chichikiti that you had
said the mantra wrong instead of.
Nice one. Yeah. So these are two important ones from Bhagavatam. In see Ramayana also we have Kumbhakarna, right? So he was asking for benediction from Lord Brahma, and then instead of asking that he wants to become immortal, he misspelled it to be that he wants to sleep for a long time. And then, so that's what he got. After all the austerities, then finally what he got was to sleep for 6 months and then be awake for 6 months. So he must have really been extremely frustrated with that. So we are coming to that two wonderful examples. So Mother Dithi, so she was the mother of all the demons. And what happened was Indra, so he would kill all those demons. So she was extremely angry and she wanted to take some revenge on Indra. And then she asked her husband, Kashyapa Muni, and Kashyapa said, so you can pray to Lord Vishnu and you can do this fire or just taking milk once in a day and continue this for 1 full year. And at the end of this 1 full year, you're going to get a son who can kill Indra. So that was her prayer, although she did not reveal that to her husband. So she was doing fire vrata all the time. And when Lord Vishnu was very pleased with her after this vrata, and she was going to ask for some benediction, and she asked that her child would become a friend of Indra instead of killing Indra. So then what happened was so Indra meanwhile already understood, because Indra is the controlling deity of the mind, just like Brahma is the controlling deity of intelligence. Indra is the controlling deity of the mind. So he understood her purpose, that she actually wants her sons to be very powerful and be able to kill Indra. So then Indra goes actually into the womb, and then he cuts the embryo into many pieces. But all the embryo, they're all already awake and conscious, and they're saying that actually we are going to be your friend, we are not going to be your enemies. So why are you killing us? Then Indra becomes extremely, he understands that they're not going to be his enemies. So he decides to leave them. And then when they're born, to the great surprise of Diti, so they all become very favorable to him. So there was 49 Maruts, they were born, they were controlling deities of the wind. So in Bhagavad Gita also we see Marutam. And so that is a very beautiful pastime. The other important pastime that Mother Lakshmi Mataji, she knows the Vritsasura also. So we, in this wonderful way, so Indra again is the central point of this whole story. So Indra had lost his the blessings of his guru, Brihaspati, and he was completely bereft of all the opulences and all the kingdom of heaven, of course, he was all completely taken away. So he wanted to do something to gain back all this kingdom. And he didn't have a priest named Brihaspati. So he went to different sages, and especially to the sage Vishwarupa. So he decided to become his priest. But Vishwarupa, he was actually had a parentage from both sides, from the demigods as well as demons. So he was favoring demons also while he was doing the yajna for the demigods. So when Indra got to know that, so he became very angry, and he did not have the patience to kind of even tell him, don't do this, you're a priest, I'm paying you for this, so don't do this. So instead he went ahead and he cut off his head. Excuse me. So his father, Tvashta, became extremely angry, and he wanted to create a demon who would kill him. So while he did all this prayers and yajna, then he wanted to request this fire to create a demon. Instead of saying that he would kill Indra, he said that he would be killed by Indra, just like he spelled it. And because of which the demon was born Vritsasura. So he was actually eventually killed by Indra. But we all know from the story of Bhagavatam, he was a very great devotee. was King Chitraketu reborn as Vritsasura in order to be, because he was cursed by Mother Parvati to be born as demon. So he fulfilled that as took as an opportunity to go back to Godhead and after being killed by Indra. So Indra, then in that case also there was a misspelling. So Brahma is actually praying here so that he can create this mantra properly and not misspell and not do any mistakes there. That is the important point here. So let us continue with the purport here. So this is a warning for one and all in spiritual advancement of life. Unless one is sufficiently protected by the Lord, he may fall down from his spiritual position. Therefore one has to pray constantly to the Lord for protection and blessing to carry out one's duty. Lord Chaitanya also entrusted his missionary work to his devotees and assured them of his protection against onslaught of material affection. The path of spiritual life is stated in the Vedas to be at the edge of a sharpened razor. A little inattentiveness may at once create bloodshed. But one who is completely served soul, always seeking protection from the Lord in this discharge of his entrusted duties, has no fear of falling into material contamination. So the best position is to take to that of a very humble devotee. And always continue to be in their consciousness, continue to be in a surrendered mood, render service to the Lord, and favorable to the Lord, favorable to the devotees, and then success is certain. So otherwise, even great devotees like Arjuna can be carried away by his thinking that he's very powerful. So we know that from the many instances in Mahabharata, Arjuna was actually put down to his position by Lord Krishna. He was shown what is real capacity. And all his capacity is actually coming from Supreme Lord. That is very important to understand. Krishna says, I am the ability in man. So if we think we have some ability, it's all because of the blessings of Lord Krishna. And we should be very thankful to that. And we should be very grateful and use it in his service. And without seeking adoration, without seeking any kind of recognition, we should be humbly rendering devotional service to the Lord. Stop here for any questions, comments. Yes, Mata.
I was going to comment. I thought it was interesting what you were saying, how he humbly prayed, because he didn't realize that Lord Brahma does go through a lot of experiences. And another one was, recently I read was in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where he was going to see the vision, but then all these other Brahmas appeared, and he was very humble by seeing so many other Brahmas, thinking, oh, I'm the Lord of the creation, and here's all these other guys. And some of them had more power because they had bigger heads and bigger universes. Yeah. So it's interesting because I don't often think about stories of Lord Brahma. Sorry, I should. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Pastor. I was just reading the history as well. And in fact, actually, he goes to see Lord Krishna in Dwarka.
Oh yeah, Krishna.
And then, but he's able to see all the Brahmas. But other Brahmas, it's written, they cannot see the other Brahma coming. They can only see themselves and Lord Krishna. So it's very nice pastime. And this Lord Brahma got to see all other Brahmas and he understood his position. Thank you, Mata. Nice addition.
Thank you.
If there are no questions, comments, I will end here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.